We are climbing high now, leaving the cities and the roads far below. We are entering the high Sierra of California, specifically Kings Canyon National Park. It is a landscape of blinding white granite, deep blue alpine lakes, and silence. The air here is thin and cold, even in summer. The year is 1996. It is July. The wildflowers are blooming in the meadows, and the snow is melting into rushing streams. This is the domain of Randy Morgenson. He is a backcountry ranger, a man who has spent 28 summers protecting these mountains. He knows every rock, every trail, and every stream. He doesn't just work here. The mountains are part of his soul. Randy is a legend among the rangers. He is 54 years old, strong, and deeply philosophical. But this summer, something is different. Randy seems distant. He is distracted. He writes in his logbook about the weight of the mountains. On the morning of July 21st, he pins a note to the door of his remote ranger station. It says simply, "I will be back in a few days." He radios his colleagues to say he is going on a routine patrol. He walks away from the station, his boots crunching on the gravel. He crosses a log bridge over a stream, and then he walks off the face of the earth. He was supposed to check in by radio that night, but the radio remained silent. Just the static of the high-altitude atmosphere. Hiss, crackle, the next night silence. The rangers are not worried at first. Randy is the expert. If anyone can survive out here, it's him. Maybe his radio batteries died. Maybe he decided to take a longer route. But after 4 days, the worry turns to panic. A massive search is launched. It is one of the biggest in the history of the National Park Service. Helicopters sweep over the granite peaks. Search dogs scour the valleys. Nearly 100 experts are on the ground looking for their friend. They find nothing. No footprints in the snow. No piece of clothing. No camp. It is baffling. How can a man who knows the park better than anyone simply vanish? Did he fall? Was he attacked by a mountain lion? Or did he walk away on purpose? There were whispers that Randy was unhappy, that he wanted to disappear. Did he choose the mountains as his final resting place? Five years pass. The seasons change. The snow falls and melts. The wildflowers bloom and die. Randy becomes a ghost story told around campfires. The gray ghost of the Sierra. Hikers report feeling watched in the remote valleys. Then, in 2001, a trail worker goes off the beaten path near a waterfall in a remote gorge. He looks down into a crevice and sees something unnatural. A backpack. It is Randy's pack. Nearby, half buried in the rocks and ice, they find his remains. And his radio. The radio was switched on. This detail is haunting. It means he didn't disappear on purpose. He had tried to call for help. He had fallen through a snow bridge, sliding down into the gorge, trapped by the water and the rock. He was injured, alone, calling out into the void, but the granite walls blocked his signal. He died doing what he loved, in the place he loved. The mountain he spent his life protecting had finally claimed him. The mystery was solved, but the feeling remains. the feeling of how small we are against the size of the wild. Imagine that gorge now. The water is rushing over the smooth gray stones. Splash, splash. The wind is blowing through the stunted pine trees. The air is incredibly fresh and cold. Randy is part of the mountain now. He is part of the silence. You are far away from the dangerous cliffs. You are safe in your bed. The mountains are majestic, but they are distant. You can admire them from the safety of your dreams. We leave the high mountains now and travel east, to the quiet, ancient forests of Vermont. It is late autumn. The year is 1946. Imagine a landscape painted in shades of brown, gray, and fading gold. The trees have lost their leaves, and their bare branches reach up like fingers into the overcast sky. The air is crisp and cold, smelling of dried earth and approaching winter. This area is known as the Bennington Triangle, a place of deep woods and shadowed mountains, where local legends say the wind speaks in riddles. On the afternoon of December 1st, a young college student named Paula Welden decides to go for a walk. She is 18 years old, full of life and energy. She wants to see the beauty of the Long Trail, a famous hiking path that cuts through the wilderness. Imagine Paula getting ready. She puts on her walking shoes. She puts on a distinctive, bright red wool coat with a fur collar. That red coat is important. It is a splash of vibrant color against the dull gray background of the woods. It makes her visible for miles. She walks out of her dormitory and heads towards the mountain. Listen to the sound of her walk. Step, crunch, step, crunch. The ground is covered in a thick carpet of dry, brittle leaves. Every footstep is loud in the silence of the forest. She passes a few people on the road. They wave. She smiles. She seems happy. She reaches the start of the trail. The sun is beginning to lower in the sky, casting long, stretching shadows between the trees. Behind her, about 100 yards back, an older couple is also walking the trail. They see Paula ahead of them. They see the bright red coat moving through the trees. They watch her walk up a small incline. She reaches a bend in the path, where the trail turns behind a rocky outcrop. She turns the corner and goes out of their sight for just a moment. The couple continues walking. They reach the same bend just a few moments later. They turn the corner, expecting to see the red coat ahead of them. But the trail is empty. It is a long, straight path stretching out before them. There are no side paths, no thick bushes to hide in, just the open woods. And Paula is gone. It is as if she stepped around the corner and walked into another dimension. The couple is confused. They stop and listen. They expect to hear the crunching of leaves. They expect to hear her walking. But the woods are absolutely silent. Not a twig snaps. Not a bird sings. Just the hollow sound of the wind blowing through the valley. Whoosh, whoosh. The red coat has vanished into the gray air. That night, the snow begins to fall. It starts as a light dusting, then becomes heavier, a white curtain descending on the mountain. By morning, the trail is covered. Any footprints that might have been there are buried under inches of fresh snow. The mountain has sealed its secrets. The search begins. Hundreds of men, soldiers, and firefighters comb the woods. They wear heavy coats and carry lanterns. They walk shoulder to shoulder, poking the snow with long sticks. They are looking for a flash of red, a red coat against the white snow. It should be easy to see, but they find nothing. They search the caves. They search the ravines. They search for weeks. The silence of Glastonbury Mountain is heavy. The searchers reported feeling strange, as if they were being watched by the trees themselves. The wind in this place sounds like whispering voices. Did Paula get lost and wander off the trail? Did she fall? Or did the mountain simply take her? There were rumors of a Bennington monster, a wild man of the woods. There were rumors of a serial killer, but there was no evidence, no struggle, no scream, just a sudden, impossible absence. Paula Jean Welden was never found. Her red coat was never seen again. She became part of the folklore of the Bennington Triangle, one of several people who vanished in that same area during those years. The locals say that on quiet autumn afternoons, when the light is just right, you can still catch a glimpse of red moving between the trees. But tonight, the woods are empty. The searchers have gone home. The snow has stopped falling. The forest is resting under a blanket of white. Imagine the trees standing still, like silent guardians. The path is covered. The mystery is asleep. We leave the open ocean and the sunny trails behind. We travel now to the deep, dense forests of Northern California, to the shadow of the Sierra Nevada mountains. The year is 1978. It is February, the heart of winter. The nights are long, and the cold is biting. In the quiet town of Yuba City, there are 5 friends. They are often called the boys, though they are grown men. Ted, Jack, Bill, Hoer, and Gary. They are gentle souls, bonded by a love for sports and a simple, structured life. They are inseparable. Where one goes, the others follow. On February 24th, they are excited. They climb into a turquoise and white 1969 Mercury Montego, a big, heavy American car. They are heading to the town of Chico to play a basketball game. They are happy. They win the game. They are celebrating. It is a night of pure joy. After the game, they stop at a convenience store. They buy snacks for the road home. Hostess fruit pies, a chocolate bar, a soda. It is 10 p.m. They get back in the car to drive home to Yuba City. It is a straight, easy drive south down the highway, a drive they have done many times. But they never arrive in Yuba City. Instead of driving south, for reasons that no one will ever understand, they turn east. They drive away from their homes. They drive towards the mountains, towards the Plumas National Forest. Imagine the car moving through the night, the headlights cutting through the darkness. The road begins to wind. It climbs higher and higher. The pavement turns to gravel. The gravel turns to dirt. And then the snow begins. They are now 50 miles off course. They are on a rugged logging road deep in the wilderness. The trees tower over them like black giants. The snow gets deeper. The heavy Mercury Montego struggles. The tires spin. Whir. Finally, the car hits a snowdrift and stops. It is not stuck badly. 5 strong men could have pushed it out, but they don't. They turn off the engine. The silence of the forest rushes in. It is pitch black. The temperature is dropping. Nearby, a man named Joseph Shines is stuck in his own car for the night. He sees their lights. He hears voices. He calls out for help, but they go silent. He sees flashlights moving in the trees, and then nothing. The 5 men, dressed only in light sports clothes, sneakers, and thin jackets, step out of the warm car. They leave the keys in the ignition. They leave the candy bars on the seats, and they begin to walk, not back down the road toward safety, but up, deeper into the snowy forest, into the blizzard. Days turn into weeks. The families wait. The snow covers the mountain. The car is found, abandoned and frozen, like a tomb. But the men are gone. The winter passes. The spring thaw arrives. And the forest finally gives up its secret. 20 miles away from the car, deep in the woods, there's an old Forest Service trailer. A metal box used by rangers in the summer. Searchers find a window broken. They climb inside, and there they find Ted. He is lying on a bed, wrapped neatly in sheets. He has been dead for months. But here's the mystery that keeps people awake at night. The trailer was stocked with food. Enough dried food to feed all 5 men for a year. There was a propane tank for heat, full and ready to use. There were matches, but Ted did not eat the food. He did not turn on the heat. He starved to death and froze to death in a room full of food and fuel. Why? Did they think the food belonged to someone else and were too polite to take it? Were they afraid of something outside? Something that kept them trapped in the cold, dark trailer? The bones of the other men were found scattered in the woods nearby. One by one, they had fallen. What happened on that long walk in the snow? Why did they walk away from a working car? Why did they fear the forest so much that they let themselves fade away in silence? The trees saw it all. The wind heard their last words, but the forest does not speak. Imagine the trailer now, sitting rusty and abandoned in the clearing. The wind whistles through the broken window. Huh! The pine trees sway gently. The snow falls softly, covering the tracks, covering the history. We travel now to the deep, ancient forests of Maine, in the far northeast of the United States. It is July 2013. The Appalachian Trail stretches for 2,000 miles, a ribbon of dirt cutting through the wilderness. It is a place of intense beauty, where the trees are so thick they block out the sun, and the ground is covered in a soft, green carpet of moss. Walking this trail is Geraldine Largay. Her friends call her Jerry. She is 66 years old, with a kind smile and a spirit of adventure. She has been hiking for months, slowly making her way north. She is not fast, but she is steady. She loves the woods. She loves the smell of the pine needles and the sound of the birds. On the morning of July 22nd, Jerry wakes up in a shelter. It is a beautiful morning. She packs her backpack. She tightens her boots. She takes a picture of herself, a selfie. She is smiling, wearing her red fleece, framed by the green forest. She looks happy. She texts her husband, saying she will meet him the next day at the road crossing. She steps onto the trail. Step, step. The rhythm of the hike begins. The forest in Maine is rugged. Roots twist across the path, like snakes. Boulders block the way. Sometime in the late morning, Jerry needs a break. She steps off the trail, just a few yards, to find some privacy. She walks into the dense trees, and when she turns around to go back, the trail is gone. It happens that fast. The woods in Maine are like a hall of mirrors. Every tree looks the same. Every direction looks like the right one. Jerry walks west, thinking the trail is there. But it's not. She walks north. Nothing. She is only a few hundred yards from the path, but the forest has swallowed her. She tries to text her husband. In some trouble, she types. Got off trail to go to bathroom. Now lost. But the signal bar on her phone is empty. No service. She lifts her phone high in the air. She walks to higher ground. The message sits in her outbox. Unsent. It will never be sent. Night falls. The woods become pitch black. Jerry is experienced enough to know she shouldn't walk in the dark. She sets up her small blue tent on a bed of pine needles. She crawls inside. Zip. Imagine the sound of that first night. The isolation. The owls hooting. The wind rustling the canopy miles above. She is alone in a sea of trees. The next day, she tries to find a way again, but the forest is confusing. It is a labyrinth of fallen logs and thick brush. She gets tired. She realizes she cannot find the trail. So, she makes a decision. She decides to wait. She finds a small clearing on a rise. It is a peaceful spot. Sunlight filters through the leaves. She pitches her tent again. This will be her home. The search begins. Her husband waits at the crossing, but she never arrives. Police, wardens, dogs, and helicopters swarm the area. They call her name. Jerry. Jerry. But the forest is too thick. The canopy hides her blue tent from the helicopters. The rain washes away her scent from the dogs. She is only 2 miles away from the road, but she is invisible. Days turn into weeks. Inside her tent, Jerry is calm. She has a journal. She begins to write. She writes about the rain. It rains heavily that August. Listen to the sound. Patter, patter, patter. Rain hitting the nylon roof of the tent. It is a hypnotic, constant sound. A lullaby of nature. She writes about the forest. She watches the mushrooms grow. She watches the light change from morning gold to evening purple. She organizes her food. She reads her book. She prays. She is not panicking. She is accepting. She is waiting for help that cannot find her. On August 6th, she writes a letter to her family. It is heartbreaking, but beautiful. She tells them she loves them. She tells them not to be sad. She is at peace with her life. She has been in the woods for 15 days now. The silence has become her companion. The food runs out. The energy fades. Jerry zips herself into her sleeping bag one last time. She is warm. She is dry. She places her journal next to her. She places a cross made of twigs nearby. She closes her eyes. The forest holds her. The breathing of the wind matches her breathing. Slow, shallow, then still. For 2 years, she remains there. The autumn leaves cover the tent. The winter snow buries it. The spring flowers bloom around it. She becomes part of the cycle of the forest. In 2015, a surveyor stumbles upon the campsite. He finds the tent. He finds a journal. Jerry's story was finally told. The woman who waited. The woman who didn't run, but stayed. Imagine that campsite now. The tent is gone. The forest has reclaimed the space. But the peace remains. It is a quiet, sacred spot. The moss is soft. The pine trees stand tall, guarding the memory. We leave the snowy peaks and the deep canyons now. We travel to the border of Tennessee and North Carolina, to the most ancient mountains in America, the Great Smoky Mountains. It is June 1969. It is early summer. The air is warm and heavy with the scent of pine sap and damp earth. These mountains are named for the smoke that rises from them, a blue, ethereal mist created by the millions of trees breathing together. It hangs over the valleys like a soft blanket, muffling every sound. It is a place of deep, green silence. On the grassy bald of Spence Field, a high meadow near the Appalachian Trail, the Martin family is camping. It is Father's Day weekend. The meadow is filled with wildflowers, azaleas and mountain laurel. The sun is shining. It is a perfect picture of American life. Dennis Martin is 6 years old. He is a bright, energetic boy wearing a distinctive red t-shirt. He is playing with his brothers and cousins. They are planning a prank on the adults. The plan is simple. The adults are sitting by the campfire, and the boys will sneak up on them from different sides and jump out to scare them. Boo! Dennis is the youngest. He is told to go to the left, towards a thicket of rhododendron bushes. He runs off, his red shirt flashing against the green leaves. His father watches him go. It is only a few yards away. Safe. Close. The other boys sneak up. 1, 2, 3, they jump out. The adults laugh. The prank works. But Dennis does not jump out. They wait a moment. Maybe he is shy. Maybe he is waiting for the perfect moment. Dennis, his father calls. There is no answer. Just the wind blowing through the grass. Swish, swish. Dennis, come out now, joke's over. Silence. The father walks over to the bushes, where he saw the red shirt disappear. He pushes the branches aside. There is nothing there. Just the dense, tangled roots of the mountain laurel. The forest floor is empty. In less than 3 minutes, in a space of 50 yards, a 6-year-old boy has vanished completely. The panic sets in, but it is a quiet panic at first. They search the nearby woods. They call his name. Their voices echo off the mountains, but the mountains do not reply. As evening approaches, the weather turns. The blue sky darkens. The smoke of the mountains turns into storm clouds. That night, a storm of biblical proportions hits the Smokies. Rain falls in sheets. Thunder shakes the ground. Boom. Crack. Imagine the sound of that rain. Relentless. Heavy. Washing over the millions of leaves. For the searchers, it is a nightmare. The rain washes away footprints. It washes away scents. It turns the creeks into raging rivers. But for the listener, safe in bed, the rain is a comfort. Listen to it pouring down. Thousands of drops hitting the roof of the forest, washing the world clean. Poor Dennis is out there somewhere. Or is he? Did the storm take him? Or did he step into a hole in the world? The next day, the search explodes. It becomes the largest in National Park history. The Green Berets, Special Forces soldiers, are called in. Helicopters chop the air. Bloodhounds strain at their leashes. 1,400 men comb the woods. They walk arm in arm, checking every inch of ground. They find a set of small footprints, leading to a stream, and then stopping. They find a sock, but it doesn't belong to Dennis. They hear a scream in the night, but dismiss it as a bobcat. The forest is playing tricks on them. It is vast, wild, and incredibly deep. A green ocean that swallows secrets. Weeks pass. The soldiers leave. The volunteers go home. The Martin family is left with a hole in their hearts. Dennis is never found. Not a shirt. Not a shoe. Nothing. The Great Smoky Mountains simply closed around him. Imagine Spencefield now. The wildflowers are blooming again. The bees are buzzing. The mist is rising from the valley floor, curling around the trunks of the ancient trees. It is peaceful there. The tragedy has faded into the soil. The smoke is soft and blue. It wraps around the mountain peaks like a scarf. You are watching the mist from a porch. You are safe. You are dry. The rain has stopped, leaving the earth smelling fresh and clean. We leave the cold mountains and the frozen snow behind. We travel south, deep into the heart of South America, to the vast, unexplored emerald darkness of the Amazon rainforest. The year is 1925. The world is becoming modern, with radios and cars. But here, in the Mato Grosso region of Brazil, time has stopped. It is a place the locals call the Green Hell. Enter Colonel Percy Fawcett. He is 57 years old, a legendary British explorer. He is tall, lean, and tough as old leather. His eyes are fixed on a dream. He believes that hidden deep in the jungle, protected by swamps and tribes, lies the ruins of an ancient, glittering civilization. He calls it simply, the City of Z. He is not alone. He brings his eldest son, Jack, a strong young man of 21, and Jack's best friend, Raleigh Rimmel. Just 3 men. No army. No massive expedition. Fawcett believes that a small group can move quietly, like ghosts, without threatening the jungle or its people. They enter the forest on April 20th. Imagine the sound. The air is thick and heavy with humidity. It sticks to your skin. The noise of the insects is a constant, high-pitched hum. The vegetation is a wall of green. Vines as thick as pythons hang from the trees. To move forward, you must hack your way through. Chop, chop. They travel up the rivers in canoes, paddling silently over the dark, murky water. The river is alive. Caimans drift like logs. Piranhas lurk below. Above, the canopy of the trees is so thick that it blocks out the sun, creating a permanent, green twilight. On May 29th, they reach a place Fawcett calls Dead Horse Camp. It is the edge of the known world. Beyond this point, there are no maps, no trails, just the unknown. Fawcett sits by the campfire and writes a final letter to his wife, Nina. He writes, "You have no fear of any failure." He sends the letter back with native runners. Then, the three men stand up, shoulder their packs, and walk into the green wall. They vanish. Weeks pass, then months, then years. In London, Nina waits. She scans the newspapers. She listens for a knock on the door. But the jungle remains silent. 1926 passes. 1927 passes. Rumors begin to drift out of the forest like smoke. Some say they saw an old white man living with a tribe, worshipped as a god. Some say they were killed by hostile warriors. Others say they found the city of Z and decided to stay there, in paradise, leaving the noisy modern world behind. Rescue expeditions are launched. Brave men go in to find Fawcett. Many of them never come back either. The green hell swallows them up. In 1996, a Brazilian expedition found a signet ring in the mud. It belonged to Percy Fawcett, but no bones, no grave, just a ring, left behind like a crumb. What happened in those final days? Did they run out of food? Did the fever take them? Or did they simply walk so far that they walked off the edge of reality? Imagine them now. Three small figures walking under the giant trees. The ferns brush against their legs. Swish, swish. The rain begins to fall. A warm, tropical rain that washes away their footprints the moment they are made. The jungle does not judge. It only grows. Vines wrap around their equipment. Moss covers their path. The city of Z, real or imagined, keeps it secret. We leave the trails of North America and return to the deepest, darkest part of the world. We travel back to the vast Amazon rainforest of Brazil. The year is 1923. The jungle here is so dense, so immense, that it feels like an endless green ocean. Hidden deep within this green ocean was a small settlement called Hoer Verde. It was home to 600 people, farmers, workers, families who had built a life far away from civilization. They lived in small wooden huts with thatched roofs, surrounded by a clearing they had cut from the forest. Life there was simple and loud. Imagine the sounds. Children playing and laughing, dogs barking, chickens clucking, the sound of axes chopping wood, the smell of smoke from cooking fires rising into the humid air. It was a vibrant island of humanity in a sea of trees. Some time goes by, and travelers heading down the river decide to stop at Hoer Verde for supplies. As their canoes approach the riverbank, they notice something strange. It is quiet, usually, The village dogs would be barking at the arrival of strangers. But today, nothing. They tie up their boats and walk up the path to the village clearing. The silence gets deeper. The only sound is the buzzing of insects, a constant high-pitched hum that fills the humid air. They step into the village square. It is completely empty. They walk to the first hut. The door is open. Inside, there is a pot of food still hanging over the fire pit. The fire has burned down to cold ash, but the food is untouched. They go to the next hut. Clothes are folded neatly. Tools are leaning against the wall. Everything is in its place. They walk through the entire village. 600 people lived here. Now there is not a single soul. No men, no women, no children. Not even the animals are left. There are no signs of a struggle. No broken furniture. No blood. No footprints leading away into the jungle. It is as if the earth simply opened up and swallowed them all in an instant. Or perhaps they all just stood up in the middle of their day and walked silently into the trees. The travelers, now terrified by the oppressive silence, search for clues. They enter the small village schoolhouse. On a blackboard, they find a gun, a hastily dropped rifle, and tied to the rifle is a small tag with a message written in Portuguese. It says only 2 words, "Save us." Save them from what? There was no enemy to be seen. No disease. Just the overwhelming emptiness. The travelers left quickly, frightened by the ghost town. The Brazilian government sent soldiers to investigate. They searched the surrounding jungle for miles. The jungle is thick. You cannot move 10 feet without cutting vines. To move 600 people would leave a massive trail. But they found nothing. The forest floor was undisturbed. The mystery of Hoer Verde remains one of the greatest unsolved disappearances in history. Did a strange collective madness take them? Did an unknown tribe take them without a sound? The jungle keeps its secrets. It grows fast in the heat and rain. Within a few years, the vines would crawl over the huts. The trees would reclaim the clearing. Imagine the village now. A century later, the wooden huts have rotted away into the soil. The forest has completely erased the town of Hoer Verde. The only thing left is the silence. The deep, heavy, ancient silence of the Amazon. We leave the humid jungles and the tropical islands behind. We travel now to the rugged, untamed heart of Montana, USA. To a mountain range with a name that whispers of danger, the Crazy Mountains. The locals call them the Crazies. They rise sharply out of the plains, jagged peaks of gray rock piercing the sky, surrounded by thick, dark forests of pine and spruce. It is September 2014. The air is crisp. The leaves of the aspen trees are turning gold, shivering in the wind. Hedges, a 38-year-old experienced hunter, is heading into these woods. He is looking for elk. He is with 2 friends, but he is a man who loves the solitude of the wild. The trip starts well. They set up camp. They breathe in the fresh mountain air. But the crazies are known for their unpredictable weather. One moment is sunny, the next, a blizzard can descend out of nowhere. On September 7th, Aaron gets separated from his friends. It is not an accident. He tells them he wants to try a different trail back to the camp. "I'll meet you there," he says. He walks off into the trees, carrying his bow, his backpack, and a hydration bladder. He is dressed for cool weather, but not for a deep freeze. He walks. Step, crunch, step, crunch. The path he chose is rougher than he expected. The sun begins to set. The temperature drops. He radios his friends. "I'm a little off track," he says, "but I see a landmark. I'll be there soon." That was the last time anyone heard his voice. That night, the mountain lived up to its name. A storm rolled in. Not rain, but heavy, wet snow. 2 feet of snow blanketed the forest in hours. The golden autumn turned into a brutal, white winter instantly. Aaron was out there, alone, in the dark, in the cold. His friends waited at the camp. They kept the fire going. They called his name, but the wind howled louder than their voices. The search began. It was massive. Helicopters, horses, dogs. But the snow hid everything. It was a white sheet pulled over the mystery. They found nothing. Aaron had vanished. But the story does not end there. It gets stranger. Months later, the snow melted, and the forest began to reveal clues. But the clues made no sense. First, they found his boots. Think about that. His boots. They were found miles away from where he should have been. Why would a man take off his boots in the freezing snow? Was it paradoxical undressing? The madness that comes with hypothermia? Or was he trying to move silently? Then, miles away from the boots, they found his water bladder, and further still, his hunting bow. It was as if he was shedding his life, piece by piece, as he walked. But the strangest discovery was yet to come. 9 months later, a rancher was fixing a fence on the other side of the mountain range. He found Aaron's remains. The location was impossible. To get there from where he was last seen, Aaron would have had to cross immense, steep cliffs, wade through freezing rivers, and walk nearly 15 miles through waist-deep snow barefoot, without boots, without water. How did he do it? What drove him to keep walking? Did he see lights in the distance? Or was he running from something? The crazies kept the answer. The path he took is a line on a map that no human should have been able to walk in those conditions. It is a ghost trail. Imagine the forest now. The snow has melted. The flowers are blooming again. The pine trees stand tall and silent. The boots are gone. The trail is overgrown. But the silence remains. It is a heavy, watchful silence. We travel now to Central America, to the lush, vibrant mountains of Panama. The year is 2014. It is April, the end of the dry season. The town of Boquete is nestled in a valley, surrounded by coffee plantations and emerald green peaks. It is a paradise for hikers. 2 young women, Kris and Lisanne, have traveled here from the Netherlands. They are young, intelligent, and full of life. They have come to learn Spanish and volunteer with children. On the morning of April 1st, they decide to go for a hike. They choose a famous trail called El Pianista, the pianist. They pack lightly, a backpack with water, phones, a camera, and a few snacks. They are wearing light summer clothes. They take a dog from a local cafe with them, a friendly guide named Blue. The hike starts beautifully. The sun is shining through the canopy. The birds are singing. They take photos of each other, smiling, with the green valley stretching out behind them. They reach the summit of the trail around 1 p.m. This is where most hikers turn around and go back to town. But the girls, they see a path continuing down the other side of the mountain. It looks inviting. It leads into the deep, untouched jungle known as the Cloud Forest. They make a choice. They decide to explore just a little bit further. The Cloud Forest is different. As they descend, the air gets cooler. The trees get thicker. The mist begins to rise from the ground, curling around the trunks like white smoke. The path becomes muddy and slippery. The dog, Blue, returns home that night alone. The girls do not. Night falls. The jungle transforms. The friendly green canopy becomes a black ceiling blocking out the stars. The sounds of the day, the birds and monkeys, are replaced by the sounds of the night. Crickets, frogs, and the wind rustling the millions of leaves. Kris and Liz are alone in the dark. We know what happened next because of the technology they carried. At 4:39 p.m., the first call to 112, the emergency number, is made. It doesn't connect. No signal. 12 minutes later, another call. No signal. They turn off their phones to save battery. They wait for the morning. The sun rises on April 2nd. They are lost. The path has disappeared into the vegetation. They try to climb higher to get a signal. They call 911. They call 112. Call. Fail. Call. Fail. Imagine the frustration. Watching the signal bar stay empty. The battery percentage dropping slowly. 50%. 40%. 30%. Days pass. April 3rd, April 4th, April 5th. The rain begins. In the cloud forest, it doesn't just rain. The clouds descend and soak everything. They are cold, wet, and hungry, but they stay together. They keep checking the phones. At one point, Kris's phone dies. Lisanne's phone continues to be turned on every day at the same time, checking for a signal, then turning off. It is a ritual of hope. Then the mystery deepens. On the night of April 8th, 1 week after they disappeared, something happens in the pitch-black darkness. Between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., the camera is turned on. Flash. Click. Flash. Click. 90 photos are taken in the pouring rain. Most of the photos show nothing but blackness and rain. Some show the jungle floor illuminated by the flash. Branches, mud, a candy wrapper. Were they using the flash to see? Were they signaling to a search helicopter they heard above the canopy? Or were they trying to scare something away? The rain is heavy in these photos. You can almost hear it hitting the lens. Splash. Splash. On April 11th, 10 days after the hike began, the final phone battery dies. The screen goes black for the last time. The digital lifeline is cut. The jungle silence takes over completely. 10 weeks later, a local woman finds a blue backpack by the side of a rushing river. It is miles away from where they started. Inside, the electronics are dry. The phones, the camera, the photos, they tell the story of the long wait. The jungle kept them, but their story survived. Imagine the cloud forest now. The mist is still rolling over the mountain top. The river is still rushing over the smooth stones. It is a beautiful, wild place. The trees are tall and covered in moss. The flowers are bright orange and red. For our final journey tonight, we leave the trees behind completely. We travel to the vast, silent canyons of the American Southwest, to the red rock desert of Utah. The year is 1934. It is a place of immense beauty, where the earth is painted in shades of rust, orange, and purple. Enter Everett Ruess. He is 20 years old, a poet, an artist, and a wanderer. He travels alone, with only 2 burros, donkeys, to carry his paints and his food. He is not afraid of the wild. He is in love with it. He writes letters home saying, "I prefer the saddle to the streetcar, and the star-sprinkled sky to a roof." In November, Everett rides his burros into the Davis Gulch, a deep, twisting canyon that is cut into the earth like a scar. The silence here is absolute. The only sound is the wind blowing through the sandstone arches. Whoosh, whoosh, and the soft clip-clop of the burros' hooves on the stone. He sets up camp near a small stream. He spends his days exploring the ancient cliff dwellings left by tribes thousands of years ago. He paints the colors of the sunset. He feels small, but he feels free. He writes in his journal, "I have not tired of the wilderness. It is enough that I am surrounded with beauty." Then, Everett Ruess simply evaporates. In February 1935, a search party finds his 2 burros. They are healthy, grazing in a corral he made for them. They find his camp. His food is there. His painting kit is there. His diary is there. But Everett is gone. They search the canyons. They search the caves. The Navajo trackers, the best in the world, look for his footprints. But the red dust is blown over them. The only clue they find is a strange inscription carved into the rock wall near his camp. It says simply, Nemo 1934. Nemo, Latin for no one. Or perhaps a reference to Captain Nemo, the man who left civilization to live freely in the sea. Did Everett fall from a cliff? Did he drown in a flash flood? Or did he choose to disappear? Did he walk into the desert to become no one, leaving his old life behind to become part of the wind and the stone? He was never found. Not a bone, not a boot. The desert took him. Imagine the canyon tonight. The red rocks are cool under the moonlight. The shadows are long and deep. The burros are gone. The camp is gone. But the beauty remains. The beauty he loved so much. Everett is not lost. He is just there. In the silence. In the stars. He found what we are all looking for tonight. Peace. Absolute, unbroken peace. And now, your journey is over too. We have sailed the oceans. We have walked the forests. We have climbed the mountains. And we have crossed the desert. The world is vast, but you are safe in your small, warm corner of it. The mysteries can wait until morning. The wind has stopped. The water is still. The fire has burned down to embers. Let go. Drift away. Become part of the silence. Sleep now. Sleep. Sleep.